I want to start with a picture, a scenario that I think probably everyone listening has felt. You're at your desk, you open your laptop, it's not new, maybe a few years old, and you press the power button, and you just, wait.
The dreaded spinning wheel?
Exactly, the spinning wheel. And then, just when you think you're clear, the notification pops up. Updates are ready. Or, please do not turn off your computer. And all of a sudden, that quick email you needed to send is a whole 20-minute thing. Yeah. You're basically fighting your own machine.
It's that modern tech fatigue, isn't it? We're conditioned to think, oh, my hardware is old, when really this software is just getting heavier and heavier.
Right. And you look across the coffee shop and see someone on a Mac. And it just looks so smooth. Everything seems to just glide.
It just works.
That's it. So you go online, you look at the price of a MacBook, and you have that moment of sticker shock. $2,000, maybe more. And you look back at your perfectly functional but maybe a bit slow PC, and you just kind of sigh.
It feels like this impossible choice. You either pay what people call the Apple tax for that premium feel, or you stick with the hardware you own and just put up with Windows.
And this is why I'm so excited about today's deep dive. What if that's not the only choice? What if you could have both?
That is the big question we're tackling.
We have been digging through a stack of reviews and user reports about a piece of software called Elementary OS. And the claims in these documents are, they're incredibly bold.
They are. The sources basically position this operating system as a way to hack that whole dilemma. They claim you can get that sleek Mac-like experience, but on the standard Intel hardware that you probably already own.
And one phrase from the reading really just stopped me. It didn't call it a fun alternative. It called it an immediate replacement for Windows 11.
That word immediate is doing a lot of work there.
It really is. It doesn't say after a while or if you're a tech genius. It says immediate. So our mission today is to unpack that claim. Can Elementary OS really turn a regular PC into a Mac-like machine? Is it a genuine Windows killer, or is it just, a pretty face?
And just to set the stage, our sources are really focusing on three main things here. The design philosophy, which is huge, the technical guts of it, and the actual tools that make the switch possible.
Okay, let's dive right in with the first thing you see, the look. You can't get through these reviews without seeing the word mimic. It's everywhere.
It is. And usually mimic can sound like a cheap knockoff, right? But the sources frame it as a very deliberate, very smart design choice. They say Elementary has built utilities that mimic what a Mac can do.
And the biggest example they give, and I love this, is the file manager. The sources straight up say they built their own Finder-like clone.
And that's so critical. Think about it. The most basic thing you do on a computer is find your files. The Finder on a Mac has a very specific look, a specific flow.
Yeah, versus Windows Explorer, which just feels cluttered, all those ribbons and menus.
Exactly. So by cloning the Finder, Elementary isn't just copying an icon, they're copying a workflow. It lowers the learning curve. If you've always admired the Apple interface, seeing a familiar Finder makes the whole system feel less alien.
It's all about muscle memory, isn't it?
Totally. You don't have to relearn how to find a document, and the sources point out this is a whole suite of tools designed to replicate that Mac feel. They're not just putting a new theme on Windows.
But here's the part that gets me really excited. We're talking about this Mac experience, this Finder clone, but the source is so clear that Elementary OS runs on Intel hardware.
This is the key. And when they say Intel hardware, they don't just mean the newest, fanciest chips. They mean the standard x86 architecture, your laptop from 2018, that desktop in the closet.
So that old ThinkPad I have lying around.
Perfect candidate. The whole point is you don't need the expensive proprietary Apple silicon. You just need the standard guts inside the plastic box you already paid for.
It's like you're recycling the machine but upgrading the experience. You get the aesthetic without the Apple tax.
And that's a powerful idea. The source says it mimics what a Mac can do. It's not just looks. It's about function on hardware that's accessible to everyone.
Okay, so that's the surface. It looks like a Mac, it acts like a Mac, it runs on our old PCs. But I can hear the skeptics asking, what is it really? Because you scratch the surface and it's not Mac OS and it's not Windows.
Right. And that leads us to the second pillar in our source material, what's under the hood. And the text is unambiguous. Elementary OS is built up upon Ubuntu.
Ubuntu. Now that's a name some people will know, but for others it might sound a little intimidating. So what does it mean that this beautiful Mac-like system is really Ubuntu underneath?
Think of it like building a house. Elementary OS is the interior designer. They're picking the paint, the furniture, the whole vibe. They make it look gorgeous, but they didn't pour the foundation.
And Ubuntu is the foundation.
Ubuntu is the concrete, steel beams, the plumbing. It's one of the most robust, well-supported versions of Linux in the world. So when the source says it's built up upon Ubuntu, it's telling us it's reliable, it's solid.
So why does that matter to someone who just wants to get away from Windows updates?
Because if they tried to build this whole thing from scratch, it would probably be a buggy mess. By building on Ubuntu, they inherit years of stability, security updates, and hardware support. They're standing on the shoulders of giants.
So it's a strategic move. Let Ubuntu handle the hard technical stuff.
Exactly. And they can focus all their energy on the user experience, the Mac mimicry, the pretty utilities, the stuff we actually see and touch. It's the best of both worlds, really. You get rock-solid stability, but hidden behind an interface that feels like it was designed in Cupertino.
It's very clever disguise.
The best kind of disguise. It's disguising the complexity to make it accessible, and it also means it's super efficient on that older hardware. It doesn't have all the bloat of modern Windows.
Okay, so we have the looks, we have the engine. Now let's tackle the really big claim. The sources say elementary OS can replace Windows 11.
And not just replace it immediately.
Immediately. I mean, that's so confident. It suggests you can just install it and carry on with your life. But there has to be a catch, right? Who is this actually for?
Well, the source is really specific here, which is helpful. It's not for, say, a professional video editor who needs Adobe Premiere or a hardcore gamer.
So who is it for?
It lists 3 main uses: browsing and surfing, simple office automation, and email.
Okay, browsing and surfing. I mean, that's 90% of what most people do on a computer anyway.
It is. For a lot of us, the operating system is just the thing that launches the web browser. Google Docs, Netflix, social media, it all works the same. The source's point is that for that stuff, the switch is seamless.
Okay, but then simple office automation. That sounds a little vague. What do they mean by that?
They mean the everyday stuff. Writing a document, making a spreadsheet, a basic presentation. And the source specifically calls out LibreOffice or OpenOffice as the tools that make this possible.
Right. LibreOffice. I think people have heard of it, but maybe they worry, like, can I open a Word doc? Will it look right?
And that's the compatibility anxiety for sure. But the source highlights these to make the immediate point. The argument is you don't need Microsoft Word to write a cover letter. You can use LibreOffice. It opens Word files. It saves as Word files. For most people, it just works.
But the source does use that word simple. Right?
Yes, and that's an important qualifier. Simple office automation. If you're an accountant with complex Excel macros, this might not be your solution. But for students, writers, and just general home use, it covers all the bases.
And there's another layer here. The source mentions software products for Linux specifically. That's interesting. It's not just about using web apps.
This points to the whole ecosystem. Elementary has its own app store, and the idea is you should use the native tools. There are beautiful, fast email clients made for Elementary that feel a lot like Apple Mail. It's a more integrated experience.
So the whole argument for replacing Windows immediately is that for the average person, the brand name on the software doesn't matter as much as the function.
That's the core idea. If you can write your report, check your email, and watch YouTube, what do you actually need Windows for? That's the question the source is making us ask.
It really challenges the default. We just assume we need Windows because it came with the computer.
And this brings us back to hardware. Windows 11 has these strict hardware requirements now. A lot of perfectly good computers can't officially run it. The source is pointing out that Elementary OS can not only replace Windows 11, it can save a machine from becoming e-waste.
That's a huge point. It's not just a preference, it's a sustainability issue.
It is. And when you put it all together, the Mac design, the Ubuntu stability, and the Office-style productivity, you see how it forms a complete alternative.
So let's synthesize this. We have the Mac look, the Ubuntu foundation, and the Windows replacement claim. How do they all lock together?
I see it as a kind of tripod. You need all 3 legs. First, the Ubuntu base. Without that, it's not reliable. Second, the Mac-like design and the Finder clone. Without that, it's just another techie Linux that nobody wants to use. And third, the actual utility LibreOffice, the browser. Without that, it's just a pretty toy.
And the ground the tripod is standing on is all that Intel hardware.
Exactly, the hardware you already have. So the source is describing this unique sweet spot. It's a premium experience on commodity hardware to solve a really common problem, which is that Windows 11 is, well, it can be frustrating.
You're getting the champagne experience on a beer budget. Or on beer budget hardware, I guess.
And you're getting off that treadmill of forced updates and constant nagging. It's about taking back control.
It's empowering. It says you have a choice. You can have an OS that mimics the best of the Mac world, but respects the reality of the PC world.
And it respects what you actually do. By focusing on simple office automation and browsing, the source is being honest. It's not overpromising. It's saying, we know what most people do, and we do it really, really well.
So if I'm listening to this and I have an old laptop from, say, 2019 and it's too slow for Windows 11, the source is telling me I basically have a brand new Mac-like computer waiting to be born from that old shell.
That's the fundamental message. You have the hardware. You have the need. Elementary OS is the software that bridges that gap.
It's amazing to think the main barrier isn't money or hardware. It's just awareness. Just knowing this thing exists.
And knowing that it's immediate, that it's not some weekend-long science project, it's a replacement.
We've covered a lot of ground, from the look of a Finder clone to the guts of Ubuntu. It really does feel like Elementary OS found a very clever niche in the market.
It did. It's for the person who wants the nice things from Apple, but lives in the practical PC world.
So to sum it all up, you take your standard Intel PC, you install Elementary OS, and suddenly you have a system that's powered by the reliability of Ubuntu, but looks and feels like a Mac. You've got LibreOffice for your documents, a browser for the web, a nice client for your email, and for most of us, you have, as the source claims, immediately replaced Windows 11.
That's the promise. For browsing, surfing, and simple office tasks, you lose nothing. But you gain a fast, clean, beautiful interface.
It makes you think about our loyalty to these big operating systems. We just stick with them through all the crashes and forced restarts.
We do. We think the OS is the computer. We say, my computer is slow. No, your operating system is slow. This whole deep dive is a reminder that the OS is just software, and you can change it.
That's a great way to put it. We treat it like it's the foundation of the house when really it's just the wallpaper. You can always put up something new.
And in this case, something that mimics a penthouse view.
I love that. So here's the final thought for you to chew on this week. Maybe while you're watching a Windows Update bar slowly crawl across the screen, if an OS like Elementary can give you the best parts of a Mac and run the essential tools of Windows on the hardware you already own, are we holding on to Windows 11 out of necessity, or is it just out of habit?
It's a question worth asking every time you have to reboot.
Absolutely. Thanks for exploring this with us today.
A pleasure as always.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.